Hello guys, I'm Tom, and today we'll find out who the Crooked Man is. One of the most interesting, terrifying, and sinister demonic monsters we've seen in the world of cinema and the modern horror genre is the specter known as the Crooked Man. This malevolent entity appears in the Hodgson family's house and torments them, following them in a brutal manner. Although the Crooked Man has a brief appearance in The Conjuring 2, due to his terrifying and memorable physical appearance, this entity has become one of the fans' favorite aspects or demons in this movie saga because of the mystery surrounding this disturbing being. That's why in this video, I will explain in detail the mysterious story of the Crooked Man in the Conjuring universe, his true origins in this movie saga, what this being really is, and his connection to the powerful demon Valak. I will also talk about the physical appearance of this entity and the little we know about this monster. The Crooked Man has a direct relationship with the demon Valak and with the girl named Janet Hodgson, as she plays with a Ouija board that she made with her friend Camila. This means she was already emotionally and spiritually weak due to her parents' divorce, which had occurred shortly before the events of the movie. This is the main reason why, when the girl played with the Ouija board, the situation left her vulnerable to demonic possession. From that fateful day on, the Hodgson house began experiencing paranormal phenomena, as the young girl started to suffer from sleepwalking and also talked in her sleep, having several nightmares about an old man sitting on the house's old sofa. This man in her dreams was very angry and insisted that the house was his. All of this terrifies Janet, who believes that the ghost of the previous owner of the house is haunting them. However, it is eventually revealed in the movie that the one truly responsible for everything is the demon Valak. Due to everything happening in their house, the Hodgson family, composed of the children and their mother Peggy, explains to their neighbors and friends what they are going through and how afraid they are to sleep in their home. For this reason, the Nottingham family lets them stay at their house, which apparently slows down the events a bit and gives them some peace. Unfortunately, one night the family's youngest child, named Billy, wakes up and sees his dog, who seems to want to go out into the yard, possibly to relieve himself. Because of this, the boy gets up and follows what he thinks is his dog, named Ball, to let him out of the house. Something very disturbing is that the boy wakes up because he heard mysterious chimes and eventually follows that sound, finding his dog growling near the door to the yard. It's here where the dog grotesquely transforms into the demonic entity we know as the Crooked Man, who begins to chase the young boy, terrifying him. When the boy runs and wakes everyone up, he tells his mother that he saw the Crooked Man. Everyone in the house wakes up, but instead of seeing the Crooked Man, they only see Janet, who is speaking with a demonic and macabre voice, reciting a rhyme in a very sinister way. She then destroys the light bulbs and light sources in the house, suffers some kind of seizure, and collapses. After the authorities take on the case, with the help of Lorraine's clairvoyance, they realize that the elderly man who lived in the house, named Bill Wilkins, is not actually responsible for what's happening there. The true culprit is the demon Valak, also known as the Defiler. During the climax of the movie, when the girl is fully possessed by Valak, she finds herself locked alone in her house with no one able to access the place. Ed Warren eventually manages to enter the house and finds it somewhat disordered and slightly destroyed. When he goes up to the second floor, he sees a music box, a Crooked Man toy, turn on by itself inside a sort of tent made of sheets. Upon checking it, he observes how the slides inside the box move quickly but seemingly normally. Suddenly, the images of the Crooked Man disappear, and this being unexpectedly and terrifyingly appears in front of Ed, scaring him and causing him to back away in horror. The entity then rises menacingly and breaks through the ceiling of the nearby room, creating a large crack. Fortunately, Ed reacts quickly and manages to close the door before the creature can directly attack him. However, the monster still breaks part of the door with its umbrella, trying to reach him. Shortly after, Ed reaches the room where Janet, possessed, is standing in front of a window, ready to jump and commit suicide. Ed runs quickly and manages to save Janet before she falls. However, he barely manages to hold on to the bedroom curtain. Before this, it is revealed that lightning struck the tree beneath the window, turning it into a very sharp wooden spike. Because of this, Lorraine rushes to save her husband and confronts the demon Valak directly, as she remembers its name because she had written it in her Bible. Lorraine calls the demon by its name and, with divine authority, commands it back to hell. This frees Janet from possession and stops all the paranormal events occurring in the Hodgson house. In the film's epilogue, we see Ed Warren storing the Crooked Man's music box in the Paranormal Museum, concluding this being story in the Conjuring universe for now. From here, I will discuss two possible explanations regarding what this entity is and how it came to the Hodgson house. Then I will talk about the Crooked Man's physical appearance, what we know about his personality and behavior, and explain in detail why director James Wan introduced him in the second Conjuring movie. First of all, it's important to note that the Crooked Man's music box is actually a wind-up toy belonging to the Hodgson family, which their youngest son, Billy, frequently uses to practice his speech, improve his speaking skills, and overcome his stutter by reciting the old Crooked Man rhyme. With this context, we can understand why the Hodgson family had that peculiar music box in their possession. It's strongly implied that the children in the house, especially Billy, were very fond of this toy. That's why the demon Valak, once it entered the house through Janet, who essentially invited it by playing with the Ouija board, upon realizing the children enjoyed playing with that music box, is theorized to have turned something they loved into something sinister. Valak manifested itself before Billy Hodgson as the figure from the music box, appearing as a terrifying and evil cartoonish being, but in the real world becoming the Crooked Man. According to this theory, the Crooked Man is merely one of the forms that the demon Valak took to terrorize and weaken the family in order to achieve its goal of fully possessing Janet and consuming her soul. Although this explanation makes sense given the film's ending, we can also consider another interesting possibility. If we pay attention to the epilogue, we notice that the Crooked Man's toy was taken by the Warrens to their museum of paranormal artifacts because Ed and Lorraine concluded it was cursed and that a powerful malevolent entity lived within it. To prevent it from harming anyone else, they decided to keep the music box. Because of this evidence, we can also conclude that the Crooked Man is indeed a different malevolent entity from Valak. It's possible that it entered the Hodgson house along with Valak when Janet decided to play with the Ouija board with her friend, and that it made the music box its home due to its connection with the children. This would have made it easier to scare them, weaken them, and eventually harm or possess them. According to this theory, the Crooked Man would be another lesser demon assisting Valak in tormenting the family. This is also a valid conclusion and a very credible theory because in 2018, the Conjuring fans were informed that Warner Brothers and James Wan wanted to produce a spin-off movie focusing solely on the Crooked Man and exploring this entity's story in depth. This makes even more sense when we consider the eerie scene in Annabelle Creation, where the doll Annabelle possesses a girl named Janice. In that sequence, we see a sinister nun responsible for leading the girl to the nearby barn so she can be possessed by the powerful demon within the doll. Many fans have concluded that this nun is actually Valak, who assists the demon Malthus, the entity that possesses Annabelle, to ensure that this being is on its side and supports it in the future. It's likely that Valak did something similar with another demon, one that attached itself to the music box and took on the terrifying and iconic form of the Crooked Man. The Crooked Man in The Conjuring has a sinister and memorable appearance, closely resembling a realistic version of the partially animated drawing inside Billy's music box. Overall, he appears humanoid, with extremely long and disproportionate arms and legs compared to his body. He is very thin and gaunt, wearing distinctive brown shoes and a purple suit that, depending on the lighting, can look maroon or dark pink. He wears a white shirt underneath his coat, a large black tie, and a black vest. His hands and limbs are incredibly long, ending in bony, claw-like fingers. He carries a purple or maroon umbrella, twisted and crooked like his body. His most terrifying feature, beyond his hunched figure and towering height, is his face and head. He wears an old-fashioned hat that partially covers half of his face. The hat has holes through which his strange black eyes peer. His teeth protrude beneath the hat, and he has no visible nose. His skin is very pale and wrinkled. On the lower part of his face, he has a massive mouth with very sharp fangs, and because of its size, it looks like he is constantly grinning in a macabre way. Because of his peculiar way of moving and his twisted, terrifying appearance, despite his brief role in The Conjuring 2, the Crooked Man has become one of the most memorable and favorite malevolent entities among fans of this saga. We don't know much about his personality, but we can conclude that he is malevolent and has sinister intentions, as he is essentially a demon. However, it's important to note that he is not a high-ranking demon like Valak, which explains why he seemed to have less power and appeared to be serving Valak. James Wan, director of The Conjuring 2 and creator of this saga, mentioned that he wanted to include elements of English folklore and legends in this film since the Hodgson story takes place in England. That's why, after much thought, he decided to incorporate the classic Crooked Man nursery rhyme, which is very popular in British culture, and transformed it into a terrifying and mysterious demonic being. This served as a tribute to the old rhyme and the legends about who the Crooked Man truly was and why that characteristic children's rhyme was dedicated to him. Some people say the rhyme was created in honor of a merchant who lived in the village of Lavenham and wore very colorful and extravagant clothing. Other versions suggest the poem was written in honor of Scottish General Alexander Leslie, who signed a treaty guaranteeing religious and political freedom for Scotland, thereby weakening the English Parliament's power over its people. Many experts believe that due to the passive-aggressive conflict between England and Scotland, and the perception of Leslie as dishonest and treacherous, he was nicknamed the Crooked Man. Even so, the true inspiration behind this rhyme remains a mystery. This is the main reason why the rhyme has gained significant popularity over time and has taken on a more macabre tone among most people, as they are unaware of the general story and the true origin of the rhyme. This is why the Crooked Man has become a sort of urban legend that tells of a demon or malevolent spirit that haunts anyone who recites his rhyme, especially those who live in depression and lead dark, tragic lives. In essence, he is a creature similar to the boogeyman, but aimed at children in England and some English-speaking countries. According to the urban legend and the Sinister rhyme that have become highly popular in modern times and over the past 2 decades, it is said that long ago, there was an old and grumpy man who led a miserable life because he had given up on life after seeing that others in society were happy and not as corrupted or evil as he was. Eventually, this man decided to hang himself. However, instead of dying, he transformed into a demonic entity that sought to torment people, especially those who lived as he once did. The film's pre-production process was quite laborious, as James Wan began working on the script for The Conjuring sequel shortly after the first film's release in October 2013. He spent months developing it and gradually decided how to tell the story of Ed and Lorraine Warren. At the same time, he spent considerable time contemplating the appearance of the demons that would feature in the film, aiming for them to be at least as terrifying, if not more so, than the villain of the first movie, Bathsheba. After James Wan decided to include the Crooked Man as one of the main antagonists in the film, he eventually chose to give him a direct connection to the children's music box. This served as a reference to his Insidious films and the first Conjuring movie, where a music box allows the girl living in the haunted house to see and communicate with the ghost through the mirror on the box. Unlike the main antagonist of the Conjuring universe, the demon Valak or the Nun, who is a real demon referenced in Judeo-Christian religions, and about whom we know much from ancient demonology texts like the Lesser Key of Solomon, which classifies various demons. The Crooked Man is actually an invention by James Wan and the producers of the Conjuring films. He is essentially a macabre version of how this director imagines the Crooked Man from that traditional nursery rhyme. Still, many of the Conjuring fans and some comments from the director have suggested that the Crooked Man is heavily inspired by legends and testimonies from people who have experienced the strange phenomenon known as sleep paralysis. According to these individuals, they wake up in the middle of the night unable to move, and shadowy entities, known as shadow people, appear in their rooms. Dark humanoid figures, like living shadows. Many of these accounts mention the presence of the Hat Man, a tall, human-like figure wearing a distinctive old-fashioned hat. It's important to note that the scientific community considers these experiences to be hallucinations. Another interesting fact is that the film's director, James Wan, mentioned in an interview that he had a terrifying sleep paralysis experience while filming Insidious. Chapter 2. Many fans concluded that this is why the Crooked Man has such a distinct and terrifying appearance, including the hat he wears. Although one has never officially confirmed this, it's highly likely that this experience influenced the character's design. Unlike other modern movie characters, the Crooked Man was not created with computer-generated imagery CGI. Instead, he was brought to life through practical effects. This was made possible by the talented Spanish actor Javier Botet, known for portraying monsters and creatures in various films. Botet also played the protomorph in Alien, Covenant, and the Neomorphs, among many other iconic monsters in modern cinema. One fascinating detail about this villain is that to achieve his peculiar and terrifying way of walking, his movements were filmed in reverse. Then, that footage was played forward normally in the movie, adding an extra layer of discomfort and fear to this being. And well, that's everything we know about the Crooked Man from The Conjuring. Honestly, this character is one of my favorite demons in the Conjuring universe, because his physical appearance is very memorable and different from what we've seen in other installments, where ghosts or demons with more realistic appearances are more common. However, I think the Crooked Man is so chilling because he looks like a living cartoon that has come to life in the real world. I loved how they incorporated this character into the movie's plot. As I mentioned in the video, there are two theories to explain the Crooked Man. That it was simply Valak taking that form to terrorize the family, or that he is a lesser demon assisting Valak. If the spin-off movie about this character is never produced, we can assume that it was simply Valak in disguise. However, if that movie is made in the future, it could confirm that he is an independent demon. James Wan cleverly left this possibility open by including the Crooked Man in the epilogue of The Conjuring 2, leaving the door open to explore more of this entity in the future. I really liked his involvement in the Conjuring 2 story, but honestly, I would have loved for him to have had a bigger presence to better understand what was happening in the Hodgson house. Even so, I think that because of his terrifying appearance and the mystery surrounding him, the Crooked Man is one of the best entities in the Conjuring universe and has a lot of potential. But now, I want to know your opinion. Did you already know about the Crooked Man from the Conjuring universe? Did you know his full story and origins? Which of the two theories do you think fits this character better? Leave your answer in the comments and share your thoughts on the Crooked Man from the Conjuring universe. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, give it a like and share it to support the channel. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of my new videos.